Welcome to the Corporate Venturing Insider Series, where I interview top practitioners in the CVC world and learn with you the best practices and golden nuggets that they have accumulated over their career. In this episode, we will be learning from Sara Wallin, the CEO of Chalmers Ventures. Sara, could you take a few minutes to share your story and how you got to where you are today?
Thanks for having me. I think my career journey has been quite a mix of planned steps and lucky twists. So before I joined Chalmers Ventures, at the beginning of my career, I was on quite a ride with various tech startups. And then I turned the table and had a stint as the CEO of a government-owned bank that put money in all sort of small Swedish businesses. And that job gave me a bird's eye view of a bunch of different companies. And I actually found out that a bunch of the coolest companies in Sweden had their beginnings at Chalmers Technical University. And by cool companies, ones that could make a ton of money, but also tackle big global issues at the same time. So when a recruiter asked me if I wanted to take on this role, I didn't hesitate.
Very nice. And I can imagine how diverse backgrounds leads to these impactful roles. So maybe you can share the experiences and lessons along the journey that has been especially helpful for this current role.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, I've had the privilege of sitting on both sides of the table as an entrepreneur and as someone managing capital. And this dual perspective has given me an invaluable understanding of what both parties need, which helps me bridge gaps and foster strong partnerships, I think. Also, having navigated through different economic cycles and dived into various industries, I've gathered insights that prove incredibly useful in steering the ship at Chalmers Ventures. It's like having a treasure chest of real-world knowledge to draw from. The most, I think, significant lesson I've learned is about my own strengths and weaknesses. And I've come to realize that I can't move the needle on my own. I need the support of a strong team. And luckily, I'm surrounded by fantastic colleagues who makes up our team. And I know that I wouldn't stand a chance without their expertise and dedication. So it's a true team effort that propels us forward.
Very nice. If you think back about your career, what are the challenges you faced and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. Collaboration is crucial. And let me tell you about a challenge that really rocked my world. About 7-8 years ago, I was hit with some heavy news that I got cancer. And I've always been bursting with energy and used to exceeding expectations. But suddenly I found myself facing a different battle, undergoing chemotherapy treatments that drained all the energy I once had. It was an incredible tough period and one that showed me that immense importance of having a supporting family and true friends who stick around regardless of what role you might play in the future. And during this time, I also learned that the value of building an organization that it isn't reliant on a single individual. So it became clear that creating a strong team and a resilient structure is crucial. And luckily, I had both a loving family and a resilient group of friends and colleagues who stepped up in an incredible way.
Wow.
And they really carried me through, allowing me to emerge from this challenge with even more energy and determination to make a difference with the time I still invest in my work, because I love to work. So my biggest challenge was also a reminder of the strength of unity and the power of resilience, I think.
I want to double click a little bit, especially on the angle of work-life balance. You're clearly accomplished, you're very ambitious, you say you love to work, but clearly this happened and that probably put different perspective. Maybe you can share how you thought about work-life balance before, then, and how you help your team actually to find that balance, or maybe you can't and it's very hard. I'm not sure.
I think that's why you have to have a team, because every now and then your life give you lemons, and it happens to all of us. Then you need to step back and you need to have others who can step up instead. So I think that's what I learned, and also that I'm happy to step up if another team member has a challenge. I think it happens to all of us, and that we are open with our challenges and what's happening also in our private life, and that we help each other as team members.
Very nice. Let's transition on Chalmers Ventures. Maybe you can introduce Chalmers and then Chalmers Ventures initiative within that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Chalmers Technical University is Sweden's only private technical university, and I would say also one of the most entrepreneurial universities in Europe, and that's why Chalmers created Chalmers Ventures. And at Chalmers Ventures, I believe we have one of Sweden's most crucial missions, leading an organization with a vision to become a global frontrunner in nurturing research and knowledge-based growth companies or deep tech companies that contribute to a sustainable society and a competitive industry. So Chalmers Ventures focuses on investing in innovative tech startups with a scalable potential on the international stage and led by entrepreneurial teams. And we're really proud to be Sweden's most active early stage deep tech investor. And our track record speaks volumes. We've earned the prestigious title of being ranked as the #1 VC in the Nordics.
Wow.
We also secured a spot in the top 10 university incubators globally. And our specialty lies in nurturing this tech-based ideas with growth potential that are rooted in Swedish technical research. And we offer various entrepreneurial programs designed to transform these ideas into thriving businesses. So we initiate this journey with small investments in exchange for minor stakes in the companies. And we collaborate closely with some of the brightest brains in Sweden, researchers, students, and alumni entrepreneurs, primarily from Chalmers, but also from other Swedish universities and industry partners. And if you like, I can certainly provide more insights into some of our prominent programs, Nicholas.
Actually, maybe a first clarification, which is, do you only engage with spin-offs of the university, or even people who are not associated with Chalmers could be supported by your programs?
Yeah, our main focus is university spin-outs from Swedish universities. And since we are owned by Chalmers and are a part of the Chalmers University, it's our closest gold mine, I would say. So we find really great ideas within Chalmers, but we can also work with other Swedish universities and also ideas from industry partners or outside Chalmers, since we are a private university.
So now let's go back to Chalmers Ventures and maybe your programs and how it fits into the corporate venture capital landscape.
So when it comes to our program, one of our flagship initiatives is tailored for researchers who are keen to actively participate in the commercialization of their research findings. And we fund patent applications, we offer expert guidance and support them as strategic partners throughout the commercialization process of promising early stage research. And through collaborative discussions, we address crucial aspects like ownership, patents, IP, customer engagement, and agreements. And often this journey creates a startup company or a licensing agreement. And then there is our tech matching program, which acts as a bridge to commercialize innovative tech concepts. So we do this by aligning these tech ideas with driven entrepreneurs in our network. So these ideas can, as I mentioned before, originate from breakthrough research, from project development, or even from outside the core business of our industrial partners. And we match the tech ideas with a dedicated team, either from Chalmers School of Entrepreneurship, that's a master program at Chalmers, or our extensive network of entrepreneurs within Chalmers Ventures. And then working closely together, the tech innovator and the entrepreneurial team assess the feasibility of turning the tech into a full startup or full venture. And when the outlook is promising, we initiate our initial investment in the tech ID, which then becomes a part of our award-winning program. And then as the startup progresses, we can also provide follow-on investments, potentially extending up to Series A funding. So it's all about fostering innovation and turning brilliant ideas from the lab benches into successful ventures.
Very nice. So there are two places I want to double click. First one, which is so difficult to do, which is matching good ideas with good entrepreneurs. Can you share some best practices of how to do it well, from probably learning on when it doesn't work well? So anything you can share to our audience about matching ideas with entrepreneurs?
Yeah, of course, it's quite difficult. And I think it's hard to share that secret how we do it. We have actually tried in different ecosystems in Sweden. We have tried to share our way to do it, but it's really the expertise among our team members to see this researcher and of course the tech knowledge and match it with an entrepreneur with business knowledge, and also see, can I develop this researcher to become an entrepreneur? What is the goal for the researcher? And then match with another business team member, or do the researcher want to continue the academic career and we want to match the researcher with a full-blood entrepreneur who can take the CEO role, and try to find the match and find people who can work together. I think that's the hardest thing in the matchmaking progress.
And maybe I would share an observation, and you can tell me if I'm totally off or not. I feel like today's researchers are quite different from the researchers we had 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah,
and they are much more open to actually go out and deploy their research versus just moving on to the next paper.
Yeah, I agree. More and more researchers they want to make a difference, and they see that they can make a difference if they take their research and actually build ventures around it to make a difference out there. Because it's when it reached the market that it's really solving the problems that it can solve.
Very nice. And then the second thing I wanted to double click is the follow investments. You mentioned you can do it in Series A, but not all the time.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through the thought process for when you decide to follow versus when you decide not to follow?
Yeah, so we put up milestones together with the portfolio companies, and we follow them closely. We are also active board members and coach them in different ways. And sometimes they develop faster than we think, and then it's no problem to do this follow-on investments.
Yep.
But sometimes they fail, and that's a part of the startup world, I think.
So in a way, if you're happy with the progress and maybe better than expected, that's when you would follow.
Yeah.
So it's a positive signal when they receive follow from Chalmers Ventures.
But also, I can also sometimes, since we have a quite small fund and we start 10 companies every year, we have 100 companies in our portfolio, and the fund is not large enough to always follow on even in the interesting cases. Yeah. So we have to choose. And sometimes our syndicate partners take a larger part, and that's okay with us also, because we are still with the company and follow their progress.
Very nice. How did you build the syndicate?
Yeah. So they are actually a supplier to another portfolio company of us. So I think they already knew about Chalmers Ventures and our portfolio, and they were all already interested in our companies. And then the research was from this startup who saw the synergies. So they knew about Chalmers and Chalmers Ventures and the portfolio, but actual closing is always from the startup and the team.
And how much the fact that Chalmers Ventures was investing helped them to decide?
I think it was crucial, actually.
Very nice. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
You're the deputy chair of the Swedish Agency for Economic and Regional Growth. Again, within that context of One Planet, how do you think Sweden compares to European peers and even globally?
So I think we are really a trailblazer when it comes to this green transition, no doubt. And I think we use our innovation, our blend of education, research, and innovation to solve different problems. And we have really great strength when it comes to the innovation area in this segment. But I also see challenges, of course. We need to keep fueling research. We need to fostering international ties, and also navigating the regulation dance. So I think it's a mixed bag of strengths and challenges when it comes to Swedish innovation and how we can be a part of solving the global problems of today's world.
And that's why I was so interested to interview you, because I think Sweden and Chalmers Ventures and being at the very early stage of innovation and research gives an opportunity for real breakthrough. Can you talk a bit more about how these challenges could be overcome by having such an early support for very fragile innovation?
As I said, Sweden's innovation game is on fire, and I think it's for some very unique reasons. We have this rich science and engineering tradition, but I think what's our challenge is to take the innovation from lab to market, and I think this latest year's creating of entrepreneur rock stars is what fueling now to take these new innovations all the way to market and take them international so fast. And I think also like Chalmers Ventures, I see Chalmers Ventures' role in this vibrant canvas. We serve as a bridge, the missing link that takes sparks from the labs and transforms them into breathtaking business fireworks. So we orchestrate the convergence of academia, startups, and industry, and creating this dynamic hub where ideas become tangible. So we are the transformers of what if into what's next.
I like that. So clearly Sweden is also very different in terms of how professors, academia works, IP works, and there's this concept of professor privilege. Can you share how the significance of it within Sweden, but also Chalmers Ventures?
Yeah, now hold on to your hat. It's a game changer, I think. So professors, researchers, and even PhD students own their intellectual property in Sweden, not the university. Yeah. So it's like getting ownership right from your brain sparks. And professor's privilege is a cornerstone of our innovation landscape that sets us apart, as you just said, especially considering how we at Chalmers Ventures must remain competitive in our offerings. So unlike many universities in other countries, we don't automatically own the IP generated by our researchers. The scientists can choose to continue their academic journey while simultaneously contributing to their startups. It's an unparalleled advantage that lets them nurture their technology while building their ventures. So imagine this, a researcher still rooted in their academic role, working in tandem with us and the entrepreneurs we've carefully matched to the venture. So it's a harmony of skills and knowledge where the researchers' ongoing work in their field seamlessly integrates with the growth of their company. And this dynamic collaboration fuels innovation on multiple fronts, I think.
And I always like to think as an ecosystem. So with this very special and advantageous setup for profit, you do need something like Chalmers Ventures to be able to invest where if it was an American VC, they may not feel like it has enough IP and protections to be able to invest. So can you talk a little bit about how this very special setup allows for Chalmers Ventures to then do the bridge to the next round?
I think we are actually working really close to the researchers, and we can work together with them for sometimes 2 years to inspire them to actually build ventures around their research, because maybe they are really into the academic world and they are not thinking about ventures. And then we can also make it easy for them to build ventures together with us through this matchmaking process. I think that's a key fact that we are contributing to get the research from the lab and out and build ventures. And then, of course, we take a stake in the company and also ownership of the IP. And we also structure the company so it's investable for other VCs. And also we open doors to our syndicate partners, investor partners.
Very nice. Yeah. So we're talking about the researchers in Sweden. How do you attract international researchers?
So Chalmers is really an international environment with many international researchers, but I don't think many of the researchers around the world knows about this professor's privilege. It should be a magnet for even more global thinkers. So because we are saying, hey, you can keep your brainchild and build a business with it. So I think international researchers should see the freedom to innovate while retaining their IP rights. It should be a dream for anyone who wants to turn bright ideas into thriving ventures to work here at Chalmers in Sweden. And many knows it and it attracts them, but I also know that it's many who doesn't know about it.
No, I think it's a golden nugget for our audience, which sometimes involves entrepreneurs and researchers, to know this is a really advantageous system, which really nurtures innovation and collaboration. Let's talk about secrets. What do you think is a secret sauce beyond what we've discussed already?
Yeah, I think the secret sauce is actually collaboration, and also that we're not just handing over cash. We're creating startups together with the researchers, that we are creating the startups, that we are providing more than cash, and of course our partnerships, collaborations, syndicate investors, mentorships, and network and open doors. So I think that we are actually, and of course Chalmers Technical University, the resources that they have created, this Chalmers School of Entrepreneurship that supports us with entrepreneurs that we can match with our researchers. We're actually a family that celebrates this success together, I think.
So what would be your advice in terms of CVC striking the right balance between nurturing innovations but also managing risk? Because at the end, there's a huge amount of risk when it's so early stage in the technology.
It's like spinning plates. I think you need to encourage calculated risks like a scientist, and also you need to celebrate learnings from failures, because you always fails. It never goes like the plan. And set clear milestones, but understand that there will be failures. So innovation and risk reduction in harmony, and dance with innovation while not tripping on risk.
Okay. I want to actually ask a question, which is, how is failure taken? Is it seen positively nowadays, or is it still having a stigma?
I think the stigma is more and more fading out in Sweden. It sure was, if I just go back 5-10 years, I think it was really a stigma, but I think it's fading out. Actually, one of our entrepreneurs in Adsorbi that I mentioned before, she made a journey together with us before that failed, and we got up on the horse together again. And this time she learned so much from the other journey, and I think she's one of the best entrepreneurs we have in our portfolio right now.
I think the journey in the past and everything you've learned, including failures, could lead to really good entrepreneurship. But you haven't mentioned the value of diversity when investing in early stage. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about it?
You need to have the best team you can have in a startup, of course, when it comes to competence and also different backgrounds. And then you have to fish in the whole pond. You can't just fish in the half of the pond, because then you can't get the best fishes. So I think diverse team creates a stronger startup, and the success rates are higher with a diverse team. Yeah.
Because earlier we talked about matching the ideas with matching the entrepreneurs, but it's not just one entrepreneur. You're looking at a team that's going to actually outperform just because of how they are composed. And maybe you can share some best practices about not just matching the idea with the entrepreneurs, but how it's the right team.
Yeah. And I think we look at both gender, of course, but also age, technical expertise, business expertise, international experience. I think you need to have different backgrounds and different competence in the team to get, as I mentioned, to get the strongest team. So we look at all these different aspects when we create the team. And sometimes it's all the same gender, but it's still quite different backgrounds and different ages. And so I think we need to look for more than just gender. That I think it's the most common that we talk about. And that's good, of course, but we need to see the whole picture, I think.
I think gender is, of course, the one that's more obvious, and as research proving a better outcome when you do have diversity. But diversity of thoughts come from so many different backgrounds, education, countries, culture.
Yeah, I think so too.
Very nice. Now, I also want to, we talked about the entrepreneurs. One thing you haven't mentioned, but of course, this is early stage, is you join the board, which means you probably bring a level of coaching, but also governance, which is so foreign sometimes for the researchers. Do you have any best practices about how you introduce governance in the right way for such an early stage companies?
Yeah, we struggle with this because I think in the beginning, the startup and both the researchers and the entrepreneur thinks this governance is really wasted time, and maybe they see the benefits of it after 5 years when they are up and running and everything is in order and the financial rounds goes so much smoother, and also when you're planning for an exit and everything is already there, then they see the benefit. That's why you made us do this awful work in the beginning of our startup. But it's a struggle in the beginning to try to get them to see the benefits, why we are preparing them for the future.
First, thank you for the candid answer. And maybe you can give a tip or two about how you convince them about the value, because your struggle is a struggle of everyone.
Yeah, I think the best way is to give examples of earlier struggles and how the other startups really have feedback to us after several years. And I think that feedback to share it with the early startups, I think that's the best. Or if it comes directly from older scale-up companies in our portfolio who explains for the early startups why it's good to get this in place early.
That makes a lot of sense. And one more thing I want to ask you from your introduction was you mentioned your lucky twists along your journey. Can you share maybe one of these lucky twists which you find useful today?
Wow. I think timing is one of my lucky twists. And of course, you can never... I think many entrepreneurs who have failed are great entrepreneurs. And sometimes it's just the wrong timing. And I think sometimes you're lucky and you get the right timing. And I think you have to have experienced both failures and successes, and then you understand it's not always my fault that it fails. It might be the wrong timing, and you don't take it as hard as if you never experience the success, and you understand that it wasn't because of me, this success, it was because of the timing.
And I think that's another golden nugget, and I think it helped develop empathy towards these entrepreneurs. Perfect. Sara, Thank you very much for today.
Thank you for having me. And let's venture together.